Okay, took a 10-minute breather. I realized that Bella bought us Tate's cookies. If you haven't had Tate's cookies, I'm so sorry. They really are more of a New York, Connecticut thing, mostly New York, because the bakery is actually out in Southampton. They're big here in the city, but if you haven't had them or if you can get your hands on them, Tate's cookies are orgasmic. But I actually thought of a topic that I wanted to cover that I didn't cover in one of the three most recent Stock Talk voiceovers, and that is ESG investing, environmentally, socially responsible investing. Now, historically, ESG investing has underperformed the broader markets, but with more millennials and Gen Zers entering, or at least making their first forays into the world of investing, ESG investing has really taken off in the last couple of years. Certainly during the pandemic. Environmentally and socially conscious stocks didn't used to do well, but as more and more companies shift their focus to ESG, partially for the greater good, but also to attract newer and more investors, I'm sure, ESG has done extremely well. Extremely well. Of course, anything EV, electric vehicle, or have anything having to do with that falls under that category. Companies that are committed to being carbon neutral are included in that. I mean, there are a number of companies that have promised to not just be carbon neutral, but to actually be carbon negative, which is really impressive. Obviously, that's not happening overnight. General Motors has promised to phase out non-electric vehicles within the next 10 to 15 years. All very impressive. I will say, and this is backed by my physics teacher nerd of a best friend, been my best friend since lower school. He is a physics teacher. He's extremely into cars. And this was independently verified, that it takes to offset the carbon footprint for your lithium battery for your electric or hybrid vehicle requires you drive that vehicle for no less or no fewer than 150,000 miles. And that is to, again, offset the carbon footprint of the lithium required for the mining of the lithium required for your electric vehicle or hybrid vehicle. Now, I don't know if everyone drives their electric or hybrid vehicle 150,000 miles or more. I hope they do. But just bear in mind that that is the threshold that you really have to surpass in order to offset the carbon footprint of your electric vehicle's lithium battery. But again, going back to ESG investing has improved in terms of return leaps and bounds within the last 48 months, 24 months especially. And I think that is a good thing. I do think that that is a good thing. Look, gas and diesel vehicles aren't going anywhere anytime soon. One thing that a lot of people are forgetting is that electric vehicles, although, again, with the caveat that you have to drive it 150,000 miles or more, although they are becoming more and more and more common, more and more and more popular, they are still fairly expensive. I mean, even the new F-150, I think, is $40,000. For most people, that's not going to break the bank, or maybe not most, but for a number of people, that's not going to break the bank. But $40,000 is objectively a lot of money. So, gas and diesel vehicles are not dead yet. They will be around for quite some time, make no mistake. Not the only, but certainly a big factor is, what does that mean for the oil and gas industry? I expect that there's going to be a lot of M&A, a lot of consolidation over the next 10 to 15 years. Now, we still are going to use gas for a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of buildings here in New York City have converted from oil to nat gas for heat. I expect that will be around for quite some time, until and unless we can develop geothermal technology that's efficient enough to power major cities or buildings in major cities. I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. And you can't run cities off of batteries, at least not yet. So that is, there's still going to be a large oil and gas market for some time. I do expect that there will be a lot of M&A, and I do expect that the margins of those companies will be, at least the ones that provide, gasoline. I mean, look, gasoline is largely ethanol, right? So it's a little bit different, but yeah, I do think that it's going to be start to become more and more of an uphill battle for oil and gas companies. I still think oil and gas is going to be around forever. Just the niche will change slightly, bit by bit by bit over time, I think. But let's be real, EV is here to stay. EV is here to stay. It started out with hybrids, and now it's just full EV. And that was another thing that I don't remember where it is in terms of negotiations, but I know that EV charging stations was definitely a consideration in the infrastructure bill. I don't know that we're quite there yet, that the government needs to pay for EV charging stations in an infrastructure bill yet, but may happen. By the way, I totally shit the bed with this GAC. It is what it is. But I totally shit the bed with this GAC. But I'm putting it out here anyway, just because. I mean, why not? Who gives a shit, right? I'm not so prideful that I can't post videos of me losing terribly, which is the case in this GAC. I mean, I didn't even full clear. Dude had a great D. I misplayed it. I should have checked his GAC history. I don't know that it would have necessarily made a difference, but I probably should have checked his GAC history. But he set a great defense, so hats off. I'm not gonna be a sore loser about it. Anyway, so yeah, ESG investing has really, 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 really kicked up in terms of the returns. So don't 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 not get in on ESG investing. I'm not saying get into it now, depending on when you watch this video, depending on what the market is doing at that given time. But certainly be cognizant of companies that decidedly do not fall into the ESG investing category, because they may very well face some longer term pressure, in part due to the fact that they are not ESG. Look, there are, of course, pockets of people in the country that don't give a shit about ESG investing, or ESG companies for that matter, but a great number, and an increasing number, more importantly, do care about being environmentally and socially conscious. A number of companies have committed to increasing their C-suite diversity, company overall diversity, and those are good things. So, just be cognizant at the very least of that. And that's really what I wanted to talk about in this video, because I do think that it is an important thing to, again, be cognizant of. And I shit the bed in this video, or rather in this match. So it'll be ending relatively soon. But yeah, and funnily enough, Microsoft is one of the best performing ESG stocks of the last year plus. There are, of course, a number of others, but Microsoft, I think, is probably one of the most impressive. Anyway, I pretty much give up on this GAC in about 3, 2,